Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Motor Trade Radio podcast, powered by eBay Motors Group, with Philip Nothard and Curtis Hutchinson, bringing you all the chatter that matters.
Well, Phil, your starter for 10 this week is on dress code.
Yeah, what would you wear to go and buy a Ferrari? What would I wear? I don't know. I'd probably be. I mean, to be fair, people that do know me, I don't tend to. Well, I don't wear joggers anyway. In general, I don't wear joggers.
Men of a certain age shouldn't wear joggers.
And if I did wear joggers, I certainly wouldn't wear them outside the apartment. So you wouldn't see me in joggers and a hoodie anyway. So,
right. Yep.
And certainly not outside the apartment, and for definite not inside a Ferrari showroom. So, I would be fairly smart.
You would go for the smarter end of smart casual.
I would be at the well, I wouldn't call that. I mean, I'm not sure what I would call hoodie and joggers. And the joggers have got a different name in the car trade as well, by the way.
Have they?
They have, yeah.
You can tell me off mic if you like.
But no, I don't know. What would you wear? I mean, you're probably more affluent and maybe actually spend your time in Ferrari showrooms, girl.
Well, as a
you
sort
you actually leave your property. I don't tend to go out much anyway, so that's my problem.
Standard gear for me is jeans and a t-shirt. So sort of dress down cash.
Dress down cash. And you do that when buying a Ferrari, would you?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's very hypothetical, but we will get to the answer, won't we, at the end of the show?
We will.
Yeah. And we'll leave that little teaser there.
And thanks for those last week that they quite enjoyed our little quiz and certainly on pronunciation of new and changes within the sector. And I'll keep away from a lot of the more difficult pronunciations this week, Curtis. I'll leave you to those.
Yeah.
Doesn't work well with my northern rolling R's very well with these pronunciations.
And we still need help on cherry sherry, don't we?
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah.
So we've got again a busy show. We've got the full lowdown of the February used car value trends from Cap HPI coming up on your podcast feed next week. So please do keep your ear to that. And the figures are out in the market already, but we'll have a little chat with Darren as usual and get sort of some insight behind the scenes of what's happening, why it's happening, and what his thoughts are going forward from there.
And also a shout out to the Barbara Cox Woman of the Year award, because the 2023 shortlist has been revealed, and we can tell you that on that shortlist are Mariam Aslam Digar from Rhino Group, Erin Baker from Auto Trader, Kate Rubery-Schumark from Rygor Commercials, Sarah Sloman from Paythrough, she's also from the EV Cafe, Kate Howden, who's from E-Star Truck and Van, and Dal Donzan from Epic. So congratulations to all 6 of the finalists there, and we'll know who the eventual winner is on March the 8th. So that's actually going to come around really quickly, isn't it, Phil?
It is, yeah, and that's International Women's Day as well. So it's always a prestigious event, that, and you can actually still register. So it is being streamed live. So you can, if you head over to either Cox Automotive website, or actually if you look at the AM story, they have put a link on there, and that is again being streamed live at 2:00 and 3:30 on Wednesday, the 8th of March, and it is free to join. So again, always a great event. It's a great shout out to everybody that was even nominated, then shortlisted, and to the winner, and what they get from that as well going forward. So please do register that if you can.
Motor Trade Radio podcast, powered by eBay Motors Group.
So headlines this week are from Car Dealer, AM Online, Motor Trader, the Financial Times, This Is Money, and The Sun. And we'll start in a minute with Cazoo sheds used car data firm Cazana for an undisclosed sum as great sell-off continues. Stellantis chief forecasts car prices to fall this year as discounting returns, which will lead us neatly into This Is Money reveals 12 new cars you can haggle up to 17% off. Longer used car warranties, more popular in 2022 in cost of living crisis, while the cost of living crisis also prompts dealers to stock more economical cars. And we'll finish the show with and finally, which is Dress to Impress. We ask, what is the dress code for buying a Ferrari?
Got to a new level there with the sun as well. So
Yes.
yeah, we've got a great lineup there. But as Curtis has said there, the first story of the week, we're heading over to Car Dealer, and this is on the back of an announcement that's come from Cazoo. And Cazoo sheds used car data firm Cazana for undisclosed sum as great sell-off continues. Now, this is obviously they bought the business from Tom Wood, who for a 25 million for that business. There are reports that whether the Cazoo have done anything with that through the time of ownership, but they have now sold it for an undisclosed figure. Now, you've had a little bit of a whiteboard on the Cazoo world, haven't you? I mean, it's trying to keep up with
Yes.
it, but
Yeah.
they've got, there's a lot happening at the minute, isn't there?
The Kazoo world is very fast moving. So to try and get a handle on what's been going on there, I just dotted a few things down on my whiteboard, and I actually need a bigger whiteboard to get it all in. But just to give you a quick run through. So Kazoo launched December 2019, so right at the end of the year. 2020, it bought both Imperial Car Supermarkets and Drover, the London-based car subscription company. In 2021, things got really busy because it acquired SMH Fleet Services, Van 365, Smart Fleet Solutions, Cazana, as you just mentioned, and it bought the Spanish Swipe car subscription company and launched in Germany. And I think somewhere along the line, it bought a remarketing company as well. In 2022, it acquired Brum Brum in Italy and then launched in Italy. And then September 2022, which is, let's face it, only last summer, it announced its withdrawal from Europe. So 2023, so far, we reported this a couple of weeks ago that there were a number of site closures announced. These were some of the prep and handover centres. It sold its German subscription business. It axed car subscriptions in the UK. And latest news is it's sold Cazana. So, I mean, that's a busy 2 months, let alone a busy 3-4 years.
Just a bit, and I can. We're obviously on the Car Dealer website story, and I can imagine Mr. Baggett listening to us this morning, thinking that makes for a great story, a great visual at some point in the future, doesn't it? That whole the history of Cazoo and what they bought, what they sold, and start to add up some of these. The figures of acquisition and disposal, it's making for a fascinating story, isn't it? This.
It is, yeah. So Cazana's been bought by a company called Perseiso Vehicle Intelligence, and we weren't familiar with this business, so we did go onto their website to have a look, and they're a provider of used car data to the insurance industry. So they've actually acquired it, and there's a comment from Perseiso's boss, Richard Tomlinson, within the story saying, Cazana have been our motor data partner of choice since we launched our Insight as a service offering to the UK insurance market back in 2019. So not a company that's been going that long, and goes on to say their data tools are relied upon by some of the biggest names in insurance. No mention of how much they paid for it, but I would hazard a guess it was a lot less than the £25 million that Cazoo paid for it.
Yeah, you would have thought so. And I think, that was the thing with this. I think at the time that some of the work Cazana had done in sort of building clients in not just the dealer market, but as you say, they're very much in that insurance market, was a target area for Cazana. Initially, I think the plan was that those contracts would be maintained with Cazoo, and I think there was reports that they then weren't.
Yeah.
But as sort of Cazoo started to think about mothballing Cazana and what they did, and you say it's a shame really because Tom and the team had built a reasonably good business there, and it was a shame that they didn't do much with it once they took it into
Yeah,
Cazoo.
I must admit, I never quite understood why Cazoo bought Cazana, because it could have had a commercial relationship with Cazana and sourcing all the data it needed, or indeed, Cap HBO or Glasses, or all three, which many businesses would have done.
Rather than taking it in house and trying to manage it, I mean that is the
Yeah,
big question about that,
for
and I think that's where.
for that amount of money as well.
Exactly, and
Yeah,
that's the big question with it. I mean, was there a need to sort of take a valuation business and take it in house, and then subsequently do nothing with it? During that time of ownership, really. So yeah, it's a shame because at the time, there was people involved with the
yeah,
Cazana acquisition that
yes.
would have lost their jobs. Then obviously the contracts that they subsequently cancelled, and now selling it on again just a very short period of time after. But I think nothing surprises with the whole Cazoo story, does it, Curtis?
No, and we'll probably be
Well,
back here next week with the latest update.
exactly. Now we've got heading over to the Financial Times now, and Stellantis chief forecasts car prices to fall this year as discounting returns. Now, over the last few weeks, as we've been talking about what's happening in the market, we know that there's been an increased supply of new vehicle product that's been coming into the UK and Europe and other markets since the fourth quarter of last year. Not by all manufacturers, but clearly production is returning at a time where lead times, order banks are slowing. But Carlos has basically announced that he expects that pricing power will be under pressure, which means that they'll be back to the situation they knew a few years ago, is what they're talking about in the Financial Times.
Yeah, and it's actually a lovely piece. It's nicely written as ever by Peter Campbell, because he says Carlos Tavares, the chief exec of Stellantis, talks about ending a period of rare discipline caused by a chip shortage that has led to record profits across the industry. And the implication is very much that the supply chain issues that we've been talking about for, what seems like months upon months, if not years, is actually easing. Although that's not actually spelt out in the story. It's sort of it's implied. But Stellantis has been working hard over the last couple of years, effectively since its formation, to break its to lower its break-even points, which is a point made in this story. And Tavares says this will now be protected, especially as rising interest rates has led to a slowing of orders at the company, which he's actually admitted to.
Yeah, and I think there is signs of that, and the story we'll move on to next does say that I think generally that there is product coming back. We know that the productivity is starting to recover. I think the big question is we don't want it to recover too quickly. That we do get a significant oversupply of new vehicles, because that will then start to add too much pressure on the market and start to distress the market. So I think positively, a little bit of discounting, a little bit of sort of negotiation incentives starting to appear is a positive thing. It gets vehicles onto the road, it subsequently gets used vehicles into the used vehicle park as part exchanges or defleets and things like that. And there is a demand, particularly in that sort of contract hire leasing market, for product. They've got aging product there, and they need the deals, they need that, and to do that, they need discounts, they need the commercial deals to align with their deals. So yeah, it's not a bad thing that this is starting to happen.
Yeah, and interestingly, Tavares actually says that they, within Stellantis, I mean, and he's talking globally. This is very much the global picture. He's saying they've got a 5 to 6 month buffer because of its order book being so strong at the moment. And he does finish off with a line that teases us up neatly for the next story. He says, we all have to go back to the fundamental sales and marketing tactics which for the last 3 years have just disappeared, which takes us into This Is Money, which the headline there is Deals on Wheels. And the gist of this story is that they actually named 12 new cars that you can haggle up to 17% off the price ahead of the arrival of the new plate in March next month. So this is a bit of mystery shopping that was done by What Car, and they've identified 12 cars. I mean, potentially that list could be an awful lot longer, I'm sure, but it's headed by the Volkswagen Arteon, which they found they could get a saving of 16.7%, which equates to £6,332, which knocks its price down to £32,488.
Yeah, interestingly as well, there's a couple of hybrid EVs in there, if you've
Yeah.
noticed, Curtis. And, we'll be talking to Darren next week, obviously, around the battery electric vehicle market. But you can see in there Nissan Leaf, the 110 kilowatt centre, with a just short of £4,000 off at 3,815. You've also got the Suzuki Vitara Booster Jet 48 volt hybrid SZT. It's a long one, isn't it, Curtis?
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
long
Yeah,
badge thrown across the back of your car, there, isn't it?
Yeah.
With 13.2% at just over £3,000, and the list does go on. But as you say, that Curtis, they did send mystery shoppers out that identify between 7.5% and 16.7% off new cars were negotiable. So I think clearly there is activity back in the market. There's some stimulus starting to come now in terms of trying to build that March order bank up. So we'll see what does come from there.
Yeah, and it really within the story it does hint at this return of the buyer's market, and haggling is returning to forecourts if it hasn't done so already.
You're listening to all the chatter that matters on Motor Trade Radio, powered by eBay Motors Group. This is your weekly one-stop shop for all the biggest car retailing headlines from across the media, available on demand wherever you are on your podcast feed.
So next headline is from Motor Trader, and it is longer used car warranties more popular in 2022 in cost of living crisis. So this is based on research that was carried out by RAC Dealer Network, and it's reported that the number of policies written covering 6, 12, 24 and 36 month periods all increased, with only the shortest periods, the 3 months, seeing reduced sales over the course of last year. So overall, the company's average warranty term rose from 9.9 months to 11.1 months, so let's say 12 months. And I can kind of understand why. I'm not too sure why anyone would take out a 3-month warranty anyway, but for that extra security, it does make sense to take a 6 to 12 month warranty. And Sean Kent from RAC Dealer Network makes the point that it's all about protecting customers from those unexpected and unbudgeted motoring bills, and this is what's being factored in now when customers are buying used cars.
Yeah, you're right. I think there is as you say, that there was a reasonable demand there for those 3-month warranties because it was that short-term cover. I mean, obviously, some companies do actually give away a 3-month warranty, others
Yes,
charge for
yeah.
a 3-month warranty. But clearly, even with if that's the case, that seeing that increase from those months of 9.9 average to 11.1 average, clearly it does support other sentiment across the network around these older used cars and keeping them for longer, etc., that we're starting to see in the cost of living crisis at the minute. I mean, you can't even get tomatoes, can you, Curtis, at the minute? Um,
Oh, don't start tomatoes and tomatoes again.
But yeah, I think clearly there is that, and the RAC dealer network has also saw an increase in claim frequency in 2022, up 18% on the previous year, alongside a 22% upswing in parts costs as well. So, in addition to the cost of living in terms of household expenditure and the impact in terms of cost of repairs of vehicles, those repairs have gone up as well because of the challenges in the marketplace and what's happening in Ukraine and things like this. So I think overall, that's a clear evidence there that it is having an impact on the driver.
Yeah, definitely. And really staying with that theme on AM Online, and the headline there is Cost of Living Crisis Prompts Dealers to Stock More Economical Cars. So this is research that was carried out by Startline, and we do cover this on a regular basis, their used car tracker, which always throws out some interesting stories, some interesting trends. And they found that more than a third, so 34% of dealers are stocking more economical cars to meet the needs of buyers during the cost of living crisis. And a similar amount, a further 33%, are stocking cars that cost less to buy or lease, while 20% are retailing smaller cars. So as I say, these are all from the February Startline used car tracker. So some interesting results here, Phil.
Yeah, and they start talking about consumer behaviour, and we were talking earlier about the discounts available on new cars, but they've cited in the piece that 17% of dealers say consumers are negotiating more over pricing. 11% are spending more time over car buying decisions, and 7% of car buyers expect a higher part exchange offer. So I'm not sure if any of those things are different to when I was selling cars, essentially. But I suppose is it a point now that the point that Carlos Travers was talking about earlier, that we're now entering a new marketplace, aren't we, where it's back to the old ways of selling, negotiating, discounting, that kind of world that we've not had for some time, have we, with the significant shortage of supply and high demand?
No, and interesting quote there from Paul Burgess, the CEO, who says consumers are justifiably concerned about the cost of buying cars and keeping them on the road, and large numbers of dealers are reacting to these needs by changing their stocking mix accordingly to offer cars that take account of these needs and preferences. And that's certainly what we're seeing. In the wider industry, we report every month on the eBay Motors Group market view, and what's selling well, what's being stocked. And Darren Martin talks about that demand for those smaller city cars, and how the values have increased because the demand has gone up for them.
Yeah, and I would say it suggests going over to the story in AM, because they do talk in the story about EVs and about that, talking about a bump in the road as we go towards an EV dominated future, and whether they're seeing something more serious in terms of dealers and consumers showing resistance to the new technology. And then obviously they talk about the dealers in terms of thoughts on the future, saying that they are pessimistic that that has fallen from 42% to 37%, while those who are optimistic fell from 11% to 8%. So yeah, it seems to be fairly an interesting split there, because unchanged is up from 47% to 55%. So yeah, there's people move from pessimism and optimism into unchanged. It's just kind of what it is, isn't it? I think it's clearly saying that we're still unclear about what the future holds.
Yeah, there is so much to play out in the used EV sector, and it is fast moving, isn't it? I mean, I'd be intrigued to hear what Darren has to say when we catch up with him during the week on how the values performed over the course of last month.
Definitely. Now, the story you've all been waiting for, we're heading over to the Sun of all places, and there is a video with this as well. So, if you've not seen the video, then please do head over to the Sun. You've watched the video, haven't you, Curtis? And
I
do you think
have.
it was pre-planned?
It didn't look that spontaneous to me.
Just happened to be filming. Just happened to
Yeah,
be in a Ferrari showroom. Yeah, but
but
anyway,
yeah, so the story, the headline is dressing down. I'm worth 120 million pounds, but Ferrari dealers missed out on 500,000 pounds because they didn't like my outfit. This story was actually picked up in the trade press and so some of the wider media, but it actually broke in the Sun. And this is the story of Matt Feeds, who went to a Dick Lovett showroom in Swindon to buy two Ferraris, one for himself, one for his wife. And he says in the report in the Sun that he was ignored by the salesman, and he puts it down to the way he was dressed, which I must admit, having seen the video, I think he actually looks
I've seen
quite
worse.
smart. I mean, that's designer gear, isn't it? It's not scruffy gear,
No,
but
no.
trackies, fleece, and trainers.
His Easies, whatever they called the trainers, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's like a few quid in clothing there, possibly. I don't know. That people would. There's some people that would think that's quite smart in many
Yeah.
ways, wouldn't they, Curtis?
But in the video, he says nobody approaches me dressed like this, and there's a bit of giggling from his partner who's filming it. And I mean, I question this story because of where it's appeared. It's appeared in the Sun. Matt Feeds, a very successful entrepreneur. He was Michael Jackson's bodyguard, and there's a photograph of him holding an umbrella for Michael Jackson. But Matt Feeds does actually run some martial arts schools, which I had a look on his website, and they're described as the world's largest chain of martial arts schools. So,
I'm sure that even I'm sure that many years, the decades of the automotive industry, this has sort of been touched about. Don't make assumptions and things like this, and I'm sure that Dick Lovett had probably come across this kind of thing many times over, and they'll probably get all sorts of people in that that. Are dressed in all kinds of ways that will be
yes,
buying their product, and I don't know. I can't see it being ignored. I mean, it's
no.
I don't see it
I,
personally, but
I remember sitting down with HRO in their South Ken showroom and talking to the DP and him saying that the typical dress code of their customers tends to be sort of ripped shorts and t-shirts, and they don't prejudge anyone, no one
no,
whatsoever,
no,
because everyone who walks through door is a potential customer who's in the market to buy one of their cars. And in fairness to Dick Lovett, they are quoted in the story. Adrian Burke, the experience manager there, says, I can confirm that Mr. Feeds visited our dealership on Saturday. Upon arrival, he was initially greeted by our showroom host, and following a brief delay due to high levels of showroom traffic, one of our sales team spoke to him about a selection of our Ferrari-approved range of cars. And that's actually in the video as well. There is a shot of Mr. Feeds with one of the showroom the salespeople showing him around the car. So there was interaction, and it's I don't know. This one kind of smacks of a bit of publicity seeking, maybe.
possibly, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
just happened to be filmed and just happened to go and then give the story to the Sun.
So yeah,
So yeah, I mean, yeah, we can't. We're making assumptions now, and probably we shouldn't do. But yeah, it does smart that. And I say, Dick Lovert's well seasoned, in that prestige market. They'll probably get all sorts of people coming in for their product, and I can't see them ignoring them. And as you say, they have meeters and greeters for that very reason, to make sure everybody does get greeted when they enter into the showroom, as many other businesses do have these days. They have the showroom greeters, so that if salespeople are busy negotiating these 16% discounts from the earlier story there, that the customers are not ignored. So yeah, there's something else in this, isn't there? But we'll leave it at what it is there, Curtis. But
yeah, final quote from Matt Feed, who did actually say, I don't dress up a lot. I'm in tracksuits 99.9% of the time because I am a fitness guy. That's who I am. And he goes on to say, to be fair to them, they probably have a lot of time wasters who just turn up, take a few pictures in the cars and then leave. And I think there he hits the nail on the head, because this is a dilemma for top-end showrooms, isn't it? Because they will get people going in to just film a bit for Insta, take a few photographs for social media, and move on.
Yeah. So I say that's kind of an interesting one there. So yeah, I know it's not my kind of going outfit, but then again, each to their own, and I wouldn't like to tell Matt otherwise, in fairness.
No, I think he can take care of himself.
Yeah, I'll keep out of that one. But that's it this week, Curtis. So yeah, so as always with these things, please do head over to the stories that we've talked about to read them in more detail. Say some cracking stories there to have a look at, and you will get the news feed on Monday of next week. That if you've not subscribed, then please do subscribe to the Motor Trade Radio newsletter. You can do that via the LinkedIn group, and you'll get links and a copy of the recording as well on that newsletter.
But that's all for now. So many thanks for joining us on the Motor Trade Radio podcast. We're back during the week with our monthly used car roundup from Cap HPI's Darren Martin. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
You've been listening to Motor Trade Radio Podcast, powered by eBay Motors Group. We'll be sharing all the links from this week's headlines on Monday morning. So to make sure you receive them, just subscribe to the free newsletter on our LinkedIn page. Just search Motor Trade Radio Podcast.